Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2025 Worldwide Technologies Initial Research Show. Hope you have had a good couple of weeks since I have seen you last from the Black Desert Championship. Hopefully, you had a successful Black Desert Championship. You played all of the Michael Brennan, played all of the Rico Hoey, who, to be fair, I was very, very high on Rico Hoey, so it was a very successful week in terms of DFS for yours truly at the Black Desert. Did not have Michael Brennan, didn't know much about him. So congratulations if you did have him, and let me know how your Black Desert Championship went. Would love to be able to shout out members of the community you have success. But hopefully you've been well the past week and a half or so, ready for the final 3 weeks on the PGA Tour for the 2025 calendar year. We are in Mexico this week for the Worldwide Technologies. We'll be in Bermuda next week for the Bermuda Championship, and we finalize every year, as always, at the RSM in Georgia. But we have a little bit to cover for the Worldwide Technologies. Got a little bit of info for you also. Let's get right into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description of the video, there are links to all the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where I will try and have some research out tomorrow for you all regarding the past two champions of the Worldwide Technologies at El Diamante. Eric Van Rooyen, the inaugural year, and then Austin Eckroat last year, defending champion. I'll try to have some research out for you all, so make sure you are following me over on your preferred social media site, because that is where I put all of my research, which includes things like some course info, patterns of previous winners, players in the field this week who match those patterns, things of that nature. So you don't want to miss out. Make sure you're following me over on social media. Social media, or X specifically, is also where I put my weekly betting cards and top player usage in the DFS contests I play. If you follow me over on X, you would have seen all of the Rico Hoey that I was playing, all of the Kevin Roy that didn't turn out all that well, the Christopher Ventura, who played extremely well at the Black Desert Championship, which led to a lot of my success a week and a half ago. So if you want to see the players I'm wagering with my own money and the players I'm using most often in my lineups, go give me a follow over at X. And lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle's in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. I cannot recommend it enough. He's making a lot of updates and enhancements to The Fringe in preparation for 2026. Really excited for that. So make sure you're following him over on social media. Go show him some support and subscribe to that article. And lastly, we are live. Chat's open. I see a couple of you in there already. I'll get to you momentarily, but feel free to jump in chat with any thoughts that you had about the Black Desert Championship. How much of a force do you think Michael Brennan will be on the PGA Tour come 2026? Who do you think this week's Michael Brennan might be? And anything and everything you want to talk about Worldwide Technologies, put your thoughts and opinions into the chat. If you're not able to catch the show live, put your thoughts and opinions into the comments. I'll always get to those as well. So let's get into it. Let's do our initial research for the 2025 Worldwide Technologies. And we are going to start, as we always do, over at the GCSAA tournament fact sheet. However, you will note that this is last year's tournament fact sheet. Pardon me as I straighten that camera out. We do not have the 2025 tournament fact sheet out yet. Good evening, Phil. Thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you had a successful Black Desert Championship and that you have been successful in whatever endeavor you have partaken in the time since there was no PGA last week. Maybe fantasy football, maybe some playoff baseball. The NBA has started. Maybe you're into that. Hopefully you've had a lot of success in the week and a half that I haven't been live, haven't seen you. Hoagie or Van Rooyen, first round leader, going in on Frankie Sapano. I will give you a small amount of credit. The two players that you asked about for the Black Desert Championship, David Lipsky and Frankie Sapan, made the cut. Lipsky, I believe, was either in the lead or in contention. It was either round one or round two. Definitely fell off. So you definitely saw something that was at least worth a shout out there. They did end up, falling back quite a bit, but going in on Frankie Sapan, I mean, I believe he made the cut. Unfortunately, I'll jump ahead a little bit. You'll see that the Black Desert Championship isn't in Fantasy National, so we don't have that just yet. I don't know what's going on with that, considering it's been a week and a half. But hopefully you had a good Black Desert Championship. It's good to see you this evening. And let me know what you think of the WWT for laziness. I might start acronyming this. But as I just mentioned, we are playing the Worldwide Technology Championship this week in Cabo, Mexico, the peninsula that is on the far west coast, the Pacific side of Mexico, at El Cardinal at Diamante. We've been here for a couple years now. This used to be the Mayakoba Championship, the tournament that Victor Hovland won a couple times over on the east or the Atlantic side of Mexico. The most notable thing about El Cardinal is that this is Tiger Woods' first foray, if you will, into being a course architect. This is his first course that he was the lead architect, the lead designer of, and definitely the first Tiger Woods course that makes its appearance in any notable fashion for the PGA Tour. Like I said, we are in Cabo. The El Cardinal is a traditional par 72, meaning 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s. Does measure over 7,400 yards. This is at sea level. I know a lot of places in Mexico are at elevation, like the Black Desert Championship was. But this is truly at sea level, so I mean, this will be a long course like Vedanta is, very similarly to Vedanta in that regard, that it is a long course, but it is very wide, very forgiving, much like the Black Desert Championship was. 7,400 yards, more specifically 7,452. The stimp is very slow, and they keep it this way due to the grass type, due to the fact that you generally get a lot of wind, in these Caribbean events, especially on the coast. So the greens will be extremely large, extremely slow, at least by PGA Tour standards. Speaking of the greens, they are 8,300 square feet. I do believe these are the largest greens on the PGA Tour. Kapalua could be bigger than those. Again, this is last year's tournament fact sheet. They don't have the 2025 version out. But these are, extremely large greens, which is, very, very normal for these resort-style courses, these Caribbean-style courses. 1,600 total acres, 97 acres of fairway, and again, very similarly to the Black Desert Resort, no rough, at least no rough listed. There is a tiny amount of rough, but essentially you're going from fairway to native area or bunker. But the fairways are extremely wide, extremely forgiving, 60 yards wide in some places. I'll swivel out of the way for you. Average fairway width, 60 yards. I mean, these are just very, very wide, forgiving fairways in Cabo. Only one hole with water in play. Again, very, very wide fairways, very large greens. This is a resort-style course. This is very, very easy. It has been one of the easiest courses on the PGA Tour in its 2 years that we've seen it. We are on Platinum Paspalum throughout the entirety of the course. And again, this is very, very similar to, or very, very common, what you'll see in the Caribbean. Vedanta, Corrales, the Puerto Rico Open, the Mayakoba was on Paspalum. This grass type is known for thriving in heat, which is obviously what you're going to get in Caribbean style events. So most of those courses will feature paspalum of some kind. This is platinum paspalum throughout the entirety of the course. Paspalum is very soft, and the ball kind of sits up. So even in the fairway, or if there was any rough, the ball kind of sits up for you. Again, very, very easy to play, but it's very slow, hence why we have very slow greens. I'm not going to go through these notes. Again, this is last year's mixed condition, already to Wednesday night apparently. This is last year's tournament fact sheet. I have not heard of any drastic changes to the course. So again, the key takeaways here, this is Tiger Woods' first foray into golf course architecture. It's a Tiger Woods design, traditional par 72 with 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, including a drivable par 4, very slow greens, very large, probably some of the largest greens on tour, rivaling Kapalua. Very large paspalum greens, only one hole with water in play. Very, very, very easy, as we will see. I'm going to close that out. It's probably going to take us to Windfinder. I'm not going to worry about that tonight. So we'll jump into the Fantasy National and take a look at the players in the field this week for the Worldwide Technologies. There's been one field change since the field was released on Friday. Any player that is starred is generally an alternate, with the exception of Mac Meisner. He originally committed to playing, has since withdrawn. Kevin Streelman has taken his place. Every other player down here is an alternate. So from Vince Covello, Hayden Springer, Cameron Champ, Bramlett on down, if you see a starred player, they are an alternate, with the exception of Mac Meisner. He has withdrawn. But just like you would expect in a fall event, the strength of field and the notoriety of the names playing lack quite a bit. Your top player in the field this week, without a doubt, is Ben Griffin, who had a monster 2025 season, Ryder Cup performer, 2-time winner this year, headlines the field. But really, there's not a whole lot here in Cabo this week. JJ Spawn, the other Ryder Cupper, is here, but he generally plays a little bit in the fall. Thor Bjornsson, Griot, Mark Hubbard, Kevin Yu, Rico Hoey, Garrick Higo. These are the types of players that you're going to get headlining a field majority of the time in a fall event. So you see the top performers in the last 36 rounds or so. We'll let the cat out of the bag here. Let me filter to 2025. This is just really, really easy. We'll cover that in the breakdown, but I mean, we look at the historic conditions. It was very, very easy in 2024, and then it actually is not showing Eric Van Rooyen's year in here, but you can see just generally very, very easy. Very, very easy. So, in fact, let's go ahead and come to the course breakdown in Fantasy National. El Cardinal at Diamante. First thing I like to do is look for par. The 6th toughest hole is where par falls. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. The most difficult hole on the course, pretty long. Plays to 0.2 of a shot over par. Not really a double bogey chance per se, but bogey can creep in. But that's the most difficult hole, and you quickly get into the hundredths in terms of difficulty. Whereas if you look at these par 5s, particularly these par 5s, the opening hole, the easiest hole in the course, plays to more than 2/3 of a shot under par. So if you are parring this hole, you are losing a lot to the field. The closing par 5, more than a half a shot under par, quarter of a shot, 3/10, quarter of a shot. This is a semi-drivable par 4. This is a drivable par 4. Lots of scoring opportunities around El Cardinal, and we see that in terms of the winning scores. Nope, that is the wrong one. I want this one. When we take a look at Erik van Rooyen, 27 under par. Several players, I mean, the top 9, going 20 under or better in its inaugural year. And, when we take a look at, well, I was going to do that, but it didn't work. Then we take a look at last year, and Austin Eckroat gets to 24 under. A small handful of players getting to 20 under. It is very, very easy around El Cardinal, and that's what you get with these resort-style courses anyway. So, lots of scoring opportunities, lots of birdies, several eagles, particularly on the opening and finishing hole. You mentioned first-round leader. I don't do much with first-round leader, Phil, but what I will tell you in terms of if you, or anyone else for that matter, plays Showdown, you would definitely want to target the players that start on the back 9. The players that start on hole 1, obviously go 1 to 18. They are not going to have the opportunity to wrap around and play 18 and 1 back to back, the 2 easiest holes on the course. So you would definitely want to target the players that are starting on hole 10 for Showdown specifically, hoping that a player will birdie the 17th or the 2nd to get your 3 birdies in a row streak bonus points that are applicable in Showdown. So just be aware of that. Anytime you are playing Showdown, you're going to want to target the players that are, at least at El Cardinal, you're going to want to target the players that are starting on the back 9. But as you can see, several good scoring opportunities. 61.5% birdies, 35, 40%, a third of the time, 40%, more than half the time. Lots of good scoring opportunities here. We don't have any strokes gained for kind of obvious reasons. Even though we get strokes gained from Vedante in the Mexico Open, we have not gotten strokes gained data for El Cardinal yet. Don't know if we're going to get that this year. So we don't have anything to look at in terms of shot type data. Although I will tell you, around the green really doesn't matter because these greens are massive. It takes a very, very, very poor shot for you to miss the green here. So we're looking at a lot of putting. Anytime you're getting scores into the 20s, it kind of does turn into a putting contest. Looking at some putting. Even though this course is long, there's not a whole lot to be gained off the tee. Distance will always help, no doubt about that. But there isn't a whole lot to be gained here because a lot of people are going to be hitting fairways. You see this driving accuracy, almost 90% driving accuracy, players hitting the fairways. Even the guys that hit it in different area codes tend to find the fairway here, unless they're just horrific with it, with their driver accuracy. So I don't know how much we'll have in off the tee. We'll definitely have a little bit of a factor into it. I'm still thinking it's going to be quite a bit of approach and putting. We take a look at strokes gained by hole by par. Surprisingly for your top 10s, look, these par 4s is where it's at, and these par 3s, because everybody, and I'm talking everybody's going to take advantage of these par 5s. So the way you separate yourself is on these par 4s, probably the drivable par 4s. 351 plays a quarter of a shot under par. 344, quarter of a shot under par. So perhaps getting an easy birdie, maybe even a look at eagles for a day or two. You're going to have to play these par 3s well. Move to the top 5s. Again, par 3s kind of fall off, but a lot of emphasis in the par 4s because all of these par 5s are very, very gettable. And then you see for Erik van Rooyen and Austin Eckroat, they have played the par 4s and the par 3s very, very well. So the common denominator here you got to play these par fours well. Let's see, the most difficult holes on the course, par 4, 401, one of the toughest holes, one of the shorter holes, but still one of the toughest. 475, 462, 474, 489, 483. Again, all of these par fours falling into that 450 to 500 range, these longer par fours, which leads to the fact that even though we don't have strokes gained data, shot length data, I don't understand why this is all 100% in 175 to 200, but you're looking at 150 to 200 in terms of approach shots, basically. There will be a few long irons, and of course 200 plus will factor because of the 4 par 5s getting attacked in 2, but we're looking at some mid-length iron approach data. Hole composition, par 3s are pretty evenly split. You've got one extremely short par 3 from 150 to 175, one 175 to 2, and then 2 over 200 yards. You have 2 short par 4s. This one is absolutely drivable at 344, and the longest of long hitters will be able to drive this par 4 as well, 351 on the scorecard. So 2 very short par 4s, 2 shorter par 4s at 400 to 450, but the majority fall from 450 to 5, and then your par 5s all measure right around 600 yards. You've got one at 601, but the others are all above 580, 582. I lied. I'm sorry. 554, the shortest by far, and then 585. So, we're going to be taking a look at some longer par 5s as well. Historic cut line, very, very easy. The year Eric Van Rooyen won, -4 was the cut. Now last year it was -1. Not sure why it was difficult, especially when it, in at least Fantasy National, said that the wind was calm. I would have thought that maybe if they had a little bit of wind, it picked up the difficulty. Hard to say, but as you can see, it was a very, very poor scoring day on day 1, and then picked up quite a bit, especially for Austin Eckroat, who shoots a final round -9 to win. Carson Young shot even par day 1, and then goes -11, 5, and 7. So lots of low scores around El Cardinal. Scoring distribution, whole lots of birdies, not very many bogeys. There's a few eagles around here. A lot of more scores under par than over par. We talked about the accuracy. These are 60-yard wide fairways on average. Very, very forgiving. You're going to have to hit it like me to not find the fairway, which is to say horrible. Players are going to be able to find the fairways. Professionals are going to be able to find these fairways. Greens, much the same. These greens are extremely large, probably some of the largest on the PGA Tour. So green regulation percentage almost 80%, as opposed to 65, 66% on the PGA Tour. It's not going to be enough just to hit the green here, because these greens are so massive. Having said that, if you do miss the green, you're going to be a long way away. So scrambling is not the easiest here to get up and down. 3 putts, a lot more than the average tour event, just because of the size of these greens. These greens aren't overly complicated. They're not, there's a little bit of undulation or some contouring to them, but nothing like the Black Desert Resort, nothing like Kapalua. These are fairly, this is a resort course, so these are fairly simple greens, just pretty slow. So once players get used to the speed, generally 3 putts don't matter unless they're hitting the green and still a mile away. So 3 putts are fairly common just due to the size of the greens. Distance is also much higher here. Players know that they have so much forgiveness in terms of fairway width that they just hit driver everywhere they can. We don't have any we don't have proximity here because we don't have any shot length. But this course is very similar to the Black Desert in that regard. Very wide, forgiving fairways. Now these greens will be slow, but very wide, forgiving fairways, very easy. Think Vedanta as well. Vedanta is a very appropriate comparison course for here. So now that we've went through Fantasy Nationals course breakdown a little bit, obviously the first thing we're going to look at, easy to par. The players who have been the best at or win rounds have been easy in the field this week at the Worldwide Technologies. You got Kevin Roy, Ben Griffin, Kevin Yu, Max Grazerman, Garrick Higo, Taylor Montgomery, Takumi Kanaya, Michael Thorbjornsen, William Mao, Siwoo Kim are your top 10. Skipping Cameron Champ, he is an alternate at the moment. Watch Frankie Sapan pop off. Well, I mean, we can take a look here. Frankie, he hadn't played well in 2025. That's an understatement. But right off the bat, you see his best putting surface statistically, and this is going to be a much, much smaller sample size than the others just due to the lack of courses that Paspalum has, or that we get data for Paspalum. But he's putt well on Paspalum. He did top 10 the Sanderson Farms, just put the ever-living daylights out. He did make the cut at Mexico. Again, putting the daylights out of it there. Somewhere else that you could maybe think, like Puerto Rico. Granted, this was, almost 10 years ago now. So, clearly an amateur. But he didn't play horrible. He's just slightly under field average in terms of strokes gained for the Puerto Rico. It's one of those things, like the Amex is very easy. He played very well at the Amex. I just kind of wish I saw, or the Black Desert was in here. Because I'm now that you've asked about him, it's just kind of interesting. So let me actually pull up the Black Desert, I say Black Desert, it's the Bank of Utah. I'm pretty sure Frankie made the cut. Yeah, I mean, he made the cut. He had a very, very strong day one, and then kind of fell off. I'd be interested to see what his statistical profile was from the Bank of Utah. If it was all in putting, I'd be a little bit less inclined, I guess, just because of I'd want to see some improvement from his ball striking. But I mean, he did make the cut at the Bank of Utah at the Black Desert, so it's not nothing, Phil. But until you see some, signs of life in terms of ball striking, I just really can't get behind it. So there's your top 10 in terms of, easy relative to par. We can take a look at long courses. Definitely not as much of a fan of this filter as opposed to easy, just because we know this is going to be very, very easy. But if you are so inclined, your top performers on long courses past couple of years: Doug Gim, Keith Mitchell, Ben Griffin, Siwoo Kim, Will Gordon, Mark Hubbard, Thorbjorn Olesen, Tom Hoagie, Justin Lauer, and Ricky Castillo. Nothing to do with course architect. Obviously, obviously Tiger Woods not in the database here for Fantasy National, so nothing to do with course architect. We'll take a look at wind starting tomorrow. Maybe that's going to play a factor. But instead, let's just kind of go through these major statistical strokes gained categories, see the players that we might want to perhaps focus on. We'll start with off the tee. I do think that it will be a factor, despite the fact that I was minimizing it a little bit during the course breakdown. It will still be a factor. Length is always a bonus, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Is always going to give you a leg up on your competition if you can just hit the ball further. But I'm basically more hesitant on wanting to focus off the tee because people will think Vedanta and emphasize off the tee, and I want to be very, very careful about not following in those footsteps, I guess is the best way to phrase all that. With all that said, your top off the tee performers the past 36 rounds: Rico Hoey, Kevin Yu, Jesper Svensson, Pearson Coody, Nicholas Norgard, Thomas Rosenmuller, Trevor Cohn, Michael Thorbjornsen, Stephen Fisk, JJ Spawn. Your top ball strikers in general: Rico Hoey, 1st and 7th, Rosenmuller, 7th and 8th, Thorbjornsen, 9th and 4th, Spawn, 11th and 2nd, Doug Gims down here, 14th and 5th. Some more, honorable mentions down here for sure. There's your top off the tee players. You look at top iron players: Ben Coles, JJ Spawn, Ben Griffin, Thorbjornsen, Doug Gim, David Skins, Rico Hoey, Rosenmuller, Victor Paris, and defending champion Austin Eckroat. I'm actually going to skip the around the green. I do not think around the green plays much of a factor at all around El Cardinal, so we're just going to go into putting. We will look at Paspalum. However, I'm going to have to expand the time frame pretty good amount just to make sure we have enough rounds to make it statistically significant, because you see majority of these players don't even have 20 rounds on Paspalum. But going back to the beginning of 2023, your top putters on Paspalum greens, and more often than not, this is just the Mexico Open in terms of actual data. Like, players could have played Puerto Rico, could have played Corrales, but we don't get strokes gained data from those tournaments. So really, the only putting data is from Vedanta, so just keep that in mind. But your top putters at Vedanta, essentially, the past 2, almost 3 years: Chan Kim, Ben Silverman. Look at your boy there, Phil. Frankie Sapan, tied for first in terms of putting at Vedanta. It's only one tournament, but he putt very well there this year. Eric Cole, Quade Cummins, Sammy Valimaki, Isaiah Salinda, Joel Damon, Justin Lauer, and Takumi Kanaya, your top 10 putters at Vedanta that are also in the field this week. We'll take a look at a couple other things here. Let's take a look at scoring. Specifically, birdies are better when it's easy. Your top birdies or better gained players when rounds have been easy in 2025: Kevin Yu, Siwoo, Thorbjornsen, Joe Highsmith, Nicholas Norgard, Sammy Valimaki, Jesper Svensson, Eric Van Rooyen, Max Grazerman, and Kevin Roy. Again, skipping Cameron Champ and Hayden Springer. They are alternates as of now. I do want to take a quick look at some proximities. More likely, like the 150. I'll sort on total procs, and Joel Damon's always going to be basically number one here. I'm looking at these first kind of 3. 5th, 33rd, 30th. So like Joel Damon's going to be pretty good here. JJ Spawn, Christopher Ventura, Jackson Suber to a little bit lesser of an extent. Ben Coles, 30th, 8th, and 1st. Van Rooyen, also a former champion here. Maybe not so much from 150 to 175, but he's been very good with his longer irons. Kevin Roy, solid. Sammy Valimaki, Rico Hoey. Kevin Yu, much like Eric Van Rooyen, not struggling as much as Van Rooyen from 150 to 175, but doing very, very well from 175 plus. Norlander, Adam Hadwin's been pretty darn good with his mid to long irons. So there's a few names there. We're going to be focused again, like I said, 150 and above. 150, 175, 175, 200, 200 plus. My guess is it's going to be mainly these two ranges. That's my guess. But we'll see as the week goes on. We talked a little bit about the historic conditions. In fact, if we go to here, and it was this one, we'll bring up the historic conditions for this year. You see it was completely easy. Green speeds were very slow. Yeah, just very, very, very easy. So with that, we'll take a look at your tournament history or strokes gained total tab. This is a little bit misleading because we're going to ignore the last 3 years because this is when it was still the Mayakoba at gosh, now I've already forgotten. Not El Cardinal, because that's where we are this year. Now, that course is completely El Camaleon. Goodness gracious, I had just a blank there for a second. We're mainly focused on these first 2 columns. Not mainly, we are focused on these first 2 columns here. See, Austin Eckroat's our defending champion. Erik van Rooyen won the inaugural at El Cardinal. So we're focused on the first 2 columns. So still, obviously, Austin Eckroat, solid. Finished top 25 and then wins. Matt Kuchar has been very good at El Cardinal. Second runner-up to Van Rooyen. And then top 30. Carson Young, top 10 both years. Justin Lauer has been very good here. Top 25 and a runner-up last year. Sam Ryder, also fairly solid. Top 10, top 30. Doug Gim, top 15, top 20. So solid. Very, very consistent performer. Ben Griffin has played very well at El Cardinal. 2 top 25s. Nothing elite in terms of performance or finish. But 2 top 25s, still very, very solid. So there's a look at a few of the players who have played well past 2 years here. Players who haven't played well. Let's see. Like Keith Mitchell missed the cut last year. Matty Schmid missed the cut last year. Shank missed the cut last year. Kevin Yu missed the cut in the first one. So interesting. Kevin Roy missed the cut in the first or the inaugural Worldwide Technologies at El Cardinal. Some other maybe notable names here. Lonto Griffin has made the cut both times, but to very poor finishes. Campos, Molinax, Hubbard has missed the cut. Luke List has been pretty poor here, despite making the cut both times. Pearson Cootie, who played very well at the Black Desert. I believe he was, tied for 3rd. So, again, another person or another player that I was pretty darn high on and played very well, which led to a lot of success for me at the Black Desert. Pearson Cootie missed the cut last year. Taylor Moore missed the cut last year. So, with only 2 years of data, kind of hard to put a whole lot of emphasis into that. I'll end it with just a quick little preview of the early look file. Like I said, I do have the performance from both Austin Eckroat and Erik van Rooyen in here. So be on the lookout tomorrow for some research that I'll do tomorrow morning, maybe a little bit later this evening, and then tomorrow morning try to post that to social media for you. See any patterns that I have developed and or found, and then hopefully you can find some players in the field for this week who also fit those patterns. So I'll bring us back to Fantasy National, but that's going to be it for the show this evening. Again, a little bit shorter of a show, but with only 2 years of data, not this year's tournament fact sheet, and no strokes gained data to talk about. We're going to do a lot of inferences this week. But thanks to Phil for jumping into chat. Very much appreciated. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. Love what I do. Taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, giving you a statistician and data analyst view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. After some horrid weeks, especially at the Bay Current, Sanderson Farms wasn't great either. It was nice to get back on the positive side of the coin and make some profit. Not a whole lot, but make some profit at the Bank of Utah Championship at the Black Desert, and hopefully build some momentum for the last 3 weeks of the PGA Tour. So thanks again for all the support, for all of the wagers you have made in the time since the Black Desert Championship, for all of the DFS contests you've played in the time since the Black Desert Championship. Until I see you tomorrow night for the Data Dive show, may all your bets be profitable.